I'm live. I'm alive. Let's move this over it. All right, I'm just gonna give this a second because whenever it says it's live, it never necessarily is. I brought a candle because I think it's gonna get dark soon. Plus, the candle will tell me when I've been talking for too long. I should start going out. Okay. So this is not a usual time for me to do one of these lives. However, I feel like I've kind of been slacking off on these lives. I used to always give some kind of, hey, Mr. Landfill, what's going on? I used to always have like something to talk about at the beginning of the live, like some monologue. And, I feel like I've been slacking off on that a lot. So I decided to do one now, and I'm going to have something to actually talk about. Let me just fix my brightness here. It's too dark to see comments. Bama Industries. Hey again. Yeah, so I had a pretty short live this morning, and I feel like I've been slacking off on my lives, and I should actually do some kind of decent monologue that I didn't do earlier this morning. It wasn't terrible or anything. I just felt like I wasn't talking about anything. That's the thing. I feel like in the last few Sundays, I haven't really talked about anything. So I thought of a couple things to talk about now, and I'm just stalling until this gets to 2 minutes because I always like to waste the first 2 minutes to give people a chance to get here. And I just had a shower, so my ears have water in them. All right, minute 53 seconds. Ooh, minute 53. That's what I used to run the 800 meters in. No, Tomaters, nothing happened. I just had a short live this morning, and I felt like I didn't really talk about anything. So I was out driving around in my boat, and I was thinking I should do another live because it was a short one this morning, and I can do another hour now and actually try to talk about something valuable and useful, not just rambling on and answering questions, obviously. But so I have two things that I thought of that I can talk about. And one is something that just came up this week, and the other one is something that's been preoccupying me for a while, and I just haven't said much about it because it's a difficult topic, whatever. All right, 2 lives rock. Good, I'm glad you like it. My first one was pretty short this morning because I used to always do it for 2 hours, and I think that was because I said something. I would talk about something and then we could talk about it. Anyway, all right, the first thing I was going to talk about is, I think it says in the title, it's artificial intelligence. So I very briefly heard that there have been some serious concerns and some recommendations that people of the world just stop working on AI for a while and just totally stop for like 6 months and take a step back and think like, what the hell are we doing? Are we about to annihilate ourselves with this AI? So there have been a lot of people giving warnings and saying we should just back off on that. And it made me wonder, one of the obvious questions is this how civilizations usually go? Is this why we look up at the night sky and we're not seeing, aliens out there all over the place? Is it because, civilizations get to this point where somehow they technologically destroy themselves and we're about to do that? Maybe. I think there's kind of an obvious way that this could just inevitably happen. But, understanding that those obvious ways could make it possible to actually survive through it in some way. I feel like the human race should put huge effort into trying to survive past our technological explosion. But anyway, I think there's a problem in that there's kind of 2 types of learning. There's like intelligence, and then there's wisdom. And the way I think of intelligence is like intelligence answers the question, can you do something? So like say you want to fly through the air. If you have enough intelligence and enough understanding, then you can build an airplane, right? You have enough intelligence, you can build an airplane. Now wisdom answers the question, should I do something? So, for example, maybe you have sufficient intelligence to build a nuclear bomb. And you think, ooh, nuclear bomb, it's fun. Let's go test it and play with it. Ooh, let's go blow up some stuff. But then your wisdom might come in and say, wait. Let's think about this. Is this actually a good thing to do? Use these nuclear bombs and blow stuff up. So at some point, intelligence comes and gives you capabilities, right? But then wisdom has to decide whether or not those capabilities are something you should use, or maybe how you should use them. Like it really helps you decide what you should do with your intelligence, right? Now, I think one of the major problems we have is that intelligence is easily transferable. Wisdom is not. So here we go. So okay, let's use the nuclear bomb example. Say one person is really smart and they figure out how to make a nuclear bomb. And in this figuring out of how to make a nuclear bomb, they've had all kinds of time to think about it and think about what the repercussions and all this stuff. And they've gained some wisdom while coming up with a thing and figuring it out because they've had a lot of time to think about it. And they can then write down some instructions and give those instructions to another person. And that other person can look at those instructions, follow it verbatim, not actually understanding it, and can produce a nuclear bomb, gaining zero wisdom, none of the wisdom that should have come with that piece of intelligence. Another example is the guy who invented television. I wasn't actually there, but from what I understand, he was very concerned that television may be used as this just dumb entertainment thing. He was like, look, we've got this television thing. It would be amazing. It would be an amazing learning tool. Like we could pass information around, all over the place, and people could learn all this stuff. But there's a danger, and he realized this danger because he spent all this time thinking about it when he was developing the thing. He had this wisdom, this understanding that this may become just dumb entertainment and may, Roman Colosseum the population. So then other people gain the capability to build a television, and they haven't gained all this wisdom. And wisdom is not as easily transferable as the intelligence, because you give someone the instructions of how to build a TV, they can follow it verbatim, build a TV, right? They may have to get parts. It's a little more complicated than that, but they can do it. They can copy the thing someone else has done. But if that guy then says to the people, okay, but now you have to be careful with this thing because it may just turn into dumb entertainment. And the people will be like, okay, so what? Who cares? Because they haven't thought about it. Because to gain that wisdom, that understanding that guy had, they would have to first hear what he says. Okay, this may become dumb entertainment. Then they have to process it and really understand what that means and why that's a problem. And then the wisdom comes out of themselves. See, you can get intelligence externally, but you can't get wisdom externally. You can get cues to the wisdom externally, but if you're not willing to listen and willing to generate the understanding within yourself and somehow have this wisdom, well up inside you, you're not going to get the wisdom. So the problem here, the problem with AI and a lot of other stuff is the intelligence is very easy to pass around. So you can take the code and pass it around. You can teach people how to write the code and how to do all this stuff. But to tell everyone, hey, you got to be careful with this stuff because it may one day kill us. Just watch the movie Terminator. Like a lot of people can be like, oh yeah. I get it. But like, no, you didn't get it. You didn't really think about it. Or maybe you would have thought really hard about like, maybe I shouldn't just forge ahead on this AI. Maybe the human race needs more wisdom before we create a sentient supercomputer that's going to judge us based on our own examples, which I gotta say is not super great right now. So, and this is a problem inherent to any biological creature. intelligence, learning, that like gaining capabilities is very easy to pass around. So I'm the first one to use a hammer. I can show someone else, look, it's a heavy thing and you smash. And they can see it and say, oh, yeah, I can do that too. They can pass the information. But to pass the wisdom from person to person is much, much more difficult. And it takes a lot more time. And often you need generations for that wisdom to really sink in. Because have you ever tried to teach something to someone like who's like a lot older, like new stuff to someone who's a lot older? It's hard to get that information into them because their world was different. And now the world's changing so fast, we're not keeping up with it. Like our wisdom is just not keeping up with our intelligence, and our capabilities are just, growing exponentially. But our ability to gain and develop wisdom and adapt to those capabilities it does not grow exponentially. There's a finite level at which it can grow. So I think that's a huge problem with things like AI and just technology in general, because the technology can just keep expanding at an exponential rate, but we can't. Like it still takes 30 years to make a new person. Every new generation, you need another 30 years, and 30 years is nothing in technology. Things change so fast. Anyway, does anyone have anything reasonably intelligent to say about that? Unfortunately, it is like going green, too many bad players. I still think AI is just really detailed programming. Well, I mean, we could be just really detailed programming. I don't know. Dude, your videos are so cool and I'm loving the lives. Well, thanks, man. When you were scrubbing the bottom of the boat, don't you need to block your ears to stop the critters getting in them? No, I guess not. I mean, I have heard of people getting like a shrimp in their ear and getting like really bad earache for a while, like an ear infection. But I always kind of try to stay back and I try to keep my head above the water a bunch. And usually, like the other day when I was scrubbing the boat, there was a current. So everything I was scrubbing was kind of like moving that way. So I tried to keep my head back enough that stuff would go past and not get into my head. But it is of course a risk. Happy Easter. Okay. Question, are you religious or spiritual? That could be taken two different ways. Am I religious or spiritual? Or am I religious or am I spiritual? I don't know. I have a spirit. My fighting spirit. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, there was another thing I was going to talk about. And this is a thing that's just like outside my comfort zone. And I've mentioned it a little bit here and there. And hold on, let me just fix this. And it's just relationships in general. So a little while ago, I mentioned that I wanted to meet someone. I wanted to meet someone and have like a long-term, I want a life partner, right? And I mentioned this months ago, and just kind of as the months have been going on, I've kind of been putting a little bit more effort into it, as I go on. But I've also been getting a lot of feedback from people. Like every time I mention something about it, guys usually say one of two things. The most common response is, Jaimie, you don't need a woman. Forget it. They just get in the way. They mess everything up. I mean, just be by yourself. You can do whatever you want. You're doing great. You're happy. Why do you want someone to come in and mess it up? And yeah, on one hand, I've spent significant portions of my life totally alone and totally happy, right? I understand that. On the other hand, if I just accept that, then I'm missing out on a significant part of the human experience, And as far as I know, we only get one chance at life. So if I give that up and I miss that opportunity, I'm going to look back on my life and I'm going to say, well, there's this, I did all these cool things and I had a great life and I was happy, but there was this thing, this thing that's kind of important that I missed out on. And I probably had a chance to do it and I didn't take it. And somehow, I could have made it happen. I could have, I don't know, something, but I let it go. And I don't want to look back on my life and think, I missed out on that. And another thing is there's so many people doing that, just forgetting about relationships and just being by themselves. And It's kind of a problem because a lot of those people are the more intelligent people, and they're the people who need to make kids. And I've already chosen not to go that route anyway. I mean, once I decided to have kids, I couldn't go back that direction anyway. But I really want other people who who are intelligent and doers and creative and maybe considered weird and crazy by the normal people. Those are the people who need to have kids, man. Because my kids are going to need some interesting kids to talk to in the future. Plus, those are the people who are going to fix the world or make the world better or keep us going or whatever. Like, they're the ones who are going to make the future better. So a lot of the people who are just deciding to totally not have kids, man, you guys are letting us down. You got to have the kids, man. You got to put those good people in the future, because there are plenty of not so good people being put into the future. Like, I don't want to talk about dumb people, but like, there are a lot of dumb people just accidentally making these babies and then not taking care of their kids or anything. And a lot of the people who throughout my life that I've known who've decided purposely to not have kids, they're the more intelligent people. They would, and they're the caring people, and they would be much better parents. Anyway, wait, what are you guys talking about? Let me just see what I'm missing here. Let's see. When you were painting the shark slicer, I want to see you doing some sea trials. When are you painting the shark slicer? Oh, I already started painting it. I want to see you doing some sea trials. I did a bit of driving around, but I need to get the batteries so I can, really drive. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just curious. Did you find any cracks in your house from the earthquake? No, I didn't find any more cracks. No, I mean, nothing that wasn't already there. There are a few cracks from the beginning, but nothing. And I do keep an eye on those because I want to know that they're not moving. And yeah, nothing noticeable from the earthquake. And it was a pretty shaky earthquake, so I was really happy about that. AI data can be corrupted by data dependent on the data and parameters set for it, possibly the corporate or political interests. Well, that's what it told me when I asked. Oh, geez. You're talking to the AI. Weirdos are the true heroes. Weirdos are the true heroes. Okay, so anyway, whenever I talk about relationships and trying to meet someone, the first piece of advice I get from guys is forget it, just be a bachelor, just be by yourself, do whatever you want. And I just explained why I think that's a problem. The second piece of advice I get from guys is, let me see how it goes. Oh, Jaimie, don't worry, it'll work out. It'll just work out when you're not paying attention, when you least expect it. You'll just meet the person and it'll just work out. But like, I very least expect to meet my soulmate right now. And I'm pretty sure no human of any kind is like about to knock on my door. Let me just look out the window. Yeah, nobody out there. I'm pretty sure if I go stand on my island and look out, I won't see a single person. I might see I can hear a boat actually. But other than that boat that I can hear, sounds like a 40 horsepower motor, I won't see any other people. And probably the nearest reasonably suitable partner for me is like not close, not within miles of here. So it's not the kind of thing where you can just. I don't trust that. Just let it happen. It'll just happen because I'm 47, man. If it was just gonna happen, why wouldn't it have happened by now? Okay, and then I get some advice, feedback, whatever, from women, and it usually. I mean, there are a few different variations, but a lot of it is something along the lines of, well, Jaimie, you just have to do the things you love, and then you'll meet people who are like you. And like, that's great if the things you love to do are like group activities. Like if I love to sing in a Philharmonic orchestra, I could go and sing with a whole bunch of other people. But if what I like to do is build crazy inventions, there's nobody else doing that. I mean, not here. I mean, other people are doing that out in the world. But like, for example, tomorrow, I could go to town and do some socializing, or I can work on my boat and maybe my lumber mill. And you know what I'm going to choose? I'm going to work on my stuff because I want to do that stuff. And I guarantee that somewhere else in the world, there's a woman who's having the same situation. She's like, well, I could go out and socialize, but I'd really rather do my paintings or work on my music or hammer this metal or whatever she's into. And now, how do those two people meet? That's the trick, because there's all this advice of how to do things for extroverts, right? And I guess not everyone knows that I'm mostly an introvert. You know, I'm always expressing myself in these videos because that's what it is. It's a medium where I have to be expressive. But I'm also a pretty introverted person, and a lot of other people are very introverted. And I've been talking with a lot of people who are similar to me. Either they're introverted, and I'm not like super like socially screwed up introverted. I'm just, I'm fairly introverted. But I've spoken with a lot of people who are introverted, maybe a lot introverted, and a lot of people who just have hobbies that they like to work on, or things they do that aren't group activities. They're doing this stuff by themselves. And now we're in this situation where we've gone through pandemics and the lockdowns and all this stuff. And just social connections have been just destroyed, like worldwide. It's really crazy. Like people are not meeting in real life anymore. So people are meeting online, right? And I've tried some of this online dating stuff, and oh my God, it's tedious and annoying, and it's kind of horrible, because these sites are not set up for people looking for a real connection, which makes sense if you look at it from a financial standpoint. It's the same problem with like any industry in the world right now that is motivated by money. Like they're going to do what makes more money. And if they actually succeed in setting people up, well, they just lost customers. The same thing with like if a doctor goes around curing people, well, he loses all his customers. And if a mechanic fixes your car for the next 100 years, well, he just lost the customer. So everything is based around getting you little bits of help, but not enough that you're done. So, in a trying to meet other people, a human connection kind of way, none of these dating websites or apps or anything are actually geared toward really connecting people. And let me just check what's going on with these comments here. Did you watch a lot of Dragon Ball as a child? Not as a child. You might not know how old I am. Actually, Dragon Ball might have come out when I was a child. When I was like in my mid-20s, maybe. I was 20 something when I started watching Dragon Ball Z. And I'd heard of the show and I'd seen little bits of it, and I was like, what are these people screaming? I don't get it. This doesn't make sense. So, but then finally, one day it was after I finished university. I was working 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and I was just exhausted every day. And I'd work a 12-hour day and then go home, and I was too tired to eat, so I'd make a smoothie. Like I would fill a blender with like fruit and yogurt and milk, just pack as many calories and throw a bunch of oats in there, just fill it with calories. And then, have some pizza or something. And I would go like kind of half lay on the floor with my head propped up just enough to I was like have you ever seen a meat bird, a meat bird? They just kind of lay with their head in the trough and just, that's all they do. That's what I was like. So I would get it home from work and I would get this giant smoothie and just some food, and I would just stuff my face and just try to get enough energy in myself to work again the next day. And I started watching Dragon Ball Z on the TV, and I came into it right around when Vegeta had come to Earth to destroy everything, and he was fighting with Goku, and Goku had showed up and kind of taking care of everyone else, and it was just him and Vegeta. And the first week that I watched led up to the part where Goku went Kaioken times 4 on Vegeta, and by that point I was just like, whoa, this is the best thing ever. So that was my Dragon Ball Z experience. Did my thing just get darker? I think it just decided that it's nighttime now and it just got darker. Yeah, okay, there, I fixed it. And since then, I watched all of Dragon Ball. I loved all of Dragon Ball. And then Dragon Ball Z, I liked a lot right up to the point when Frieza was gone. After that, I think it just kind of got silly. But I like that show a lot. I had to answer that in there. Okay. I'm out. Silver Fox. Okay. Yeah. Why tell me you're out? Just go. Or if you're leaving for a reason, tell me the reason. But don't just tell me, you're leaving. Okay, I don't care. If someone checks all your boxes but physical attraction, what would you do in that situation? Well, I don't know if I met a girl and she checked all my boxes except physical attraction, I don't know if that's possible. Because I'm attracted to someone who is capable. But let me think of an example. Generally, I'm attracted to a woman who's in good physical shape, healthy. If a person is healthy, I'm like, ooh, that's a good looking woman right there. And the specific features don't matter nearly as much as just just this healthy thing, right? But I guess you could have a situation where someone is just I guess just unappealing features. I don't know what I do in that situation. Am I completely unattracted to all of them? Or can I just be like, well, I can just ignore this part and focus on this part? Because I would totally do that. If I really liked a girl, I would ignore the things I don't like about her. And if it's just superficial stuff, I could totally focus on the things I do like about her. But I don't know what the specific situation you're talking about is. Okay, this guy says, I love your houses, dome tubes. How did you come up with this design? Multi-story circular structures with a dome ceiling. How warm was the Vermont dome in winter? Well, I don't know. Domes I just like. Circle buildings I like too. And mostly it has to do with the strength. So if you have a flat wall, it's a flat thing is the weakest way you can build something. It's easy to break and bend and everything. But a curved wall, it's a lot, you put pressure on it, it holds itself. That's why, all those Romans made all those arches. They didn't make straight across because they would just collapse in, right? Arches, curves are strong. Flats are not strong. Now a domed roof needs no support the entire way across. So you can have a whole dome. This is a 40 foot diameter dome, 41 feet, I don't know, something like that, dome. And it has no support in the middle. Across the entire thing, there's no support. And the dome is only like that thick over the whole thing. And there is a steel frame right under it, which just conforms to the thing, but it's not actually touching it. They're two separate things. But even if the steel frame was holding it up, there's nothing in it. There's no posts or anything. So that roof will hold its entire self up, 2-story roof, big, huge thing with no supports because of the shape. Now, if you tried to build that with flat things, the flat things would, collapse in. It just doesn't work. And yeah, a dome is it's just a really strong thing. And the reason I made my first house in Vermont dome shaped is because I was trying to minimize the amount of materials I had to take up the mountain because I had no road. I was carrying everything up the mountain, about a mile walk uphill. So I wanted to minimize the amount of materials I had to take up. So dome. And then I just like them. I like domes. It's really cool being inside a round building. Okay. How warm was the Vermont dome in winter? It was actually really warm. A lot of times I opened the front door just to let cold air in to cool the place off, because the south-facing side of the building was, I think it was 13 meters wide. Is that what it was? I don't know. It was like half the building was just windows for like 2 stories tall, all the way across, and it let so much light in. And in the winter, the sun was really low, so the sun just came. It was just like so much sun was coming in the winter. So I literally had to open the front door to cool off the building sometimes. I always made sure I let it heat up as much as I could before night. And then if I didn't have a fire in the house, it was pretty cold by the morning, but not anywhere near freezing. It was cold, like snuggly blankets cold, but not freezing at all. And I did generally have a fire going all night, just a little fire in the wood stove. And the dome was insulated pretty well. And even the windows, they were triple pane. They were double pane as I got them. And then I put another layer of Mylar that had a big airspace. I don't know if a big airspace was better than a smaller space, but whatever. And so it insulated pretty well. So heating was never a problem in that building. It was great. Also, why did you buy land in Vermont versus somewhere else? I went online looking for land that was cheap, that I could afford, and I found some in Vermont. That's about it. Okay, you get everything else delivered in a container. Why don't you order a wife? I'm sure an AI could hook you up. Yeah, I don't know. I am thinking about why are you talking about Dragon Ball so much? Who brought up Dragon Ball and why did that come up? Or was that just because? I hear that return policy on a wife in a container is pretty rough. Oh, the husband trophy is his name. Oh, I'm in that situation. Thanks for your input, Jaimie. Are you in the situation where you'd like to meet someone, or maybe you just have given up on women and you feel like just being by yourself? I'd be interested in hearing other people's take on this whole relationship thing, because I feel like our whole society right now is almost like geared toward keeping people single and alone, which is a terrible thing. I mean, it's, we're humans. We need to have good connections. So hold on. My take on AI is that it has a huge potential for all aspects of information handling and processing in terms of tools, uses for makers. It has a gigantic impact. Imagine needing a part made designed. Okay, the problem there is once you get AI to do everything for you, then you don't do anything. Then what do? You just waiting to die. And then I guess if the AI sees that you're useless and worthless and just sitting around waiting to die, it'll just kill you and get rid of you. And maybe that'll go along with the everybody being by themselves and not having any families. I mean, our whole society is just geared toward our own extinction at the moment. It's kind of a weird thing. AI could automate the whole process. Yeah, AI could automate your entire life out of existence. And then what's the point of being alive? I mean, there's no real point in being alive. You make your own purpose. And if you give all your purpose to a computer, then what do? Then you have no purpose. Arches, domes, Vermont, super interesting. Thanks. Also, Mylar is amazing. It could design a whole project for you. Why? Yeah, okay. This goes back to intelligence versus wisdom. Yes, the AI could do many things for you. It can do a lot. But your wisdom should decide, should it? Like, should I delegate everything in my life to some computer? Or should I do it myself? Like, wisdom, to me, my wisdom says, no, if I'm going to bother being alive and living, I need to live. I need to actually do things, not just export all my responsibilities and everything I do to a computer and just sit around picking my butt, just being entertained by a computer. Then what is the point of being alive then? Like, what's the point of any of it? If you're just going to sit around and do nothing and just get some computer to do everything for you and then just, sit back and enjoy it, that's going to get real boring real quick. It's going to be like anything you just do for the enjoyment. Like, you might as well just shoot up with heroin. Pretty soon, it's not fun anymore because that system never works. The system of just getting stuff for nothing. It always backfires. It feels great for like 5 seconds, and then for the rest of the time, it's just horrible until you wean yourself off it and you realize that there's more to life than just being comfortable and getting everything you want all the time. Like that, to me, that sounds like hell, absolute hell. If you could just snap your fingers and anything you want happens, it would just be horrible. There'd be no point in being alive. Okay, I'm 62. I'm done with relationships. Just a pain in the butt. I get more done by myself. I totally understand you, Classic Dude Mike. I totally get that. And yeah, I mean, when I was first talking about this, and I don't talk about it much because I don't know. I always feel like people are like, "Shut up, Jaimie. Just shut up." But I feel like it's something that people need to talk about more, and we need to get off this idea that we're supposed to be alone and miserable. Like we're not. That's not what life is about. About being alone and miserable. Like I want to meet someone, and I want to have a beautiful thing with them, and I want to work with that person and have a home and all this stuff, and build a family and build a beautiful place to live and a great life. And then we're gonna go through some difficult things together, and we'll figure it out together. Like the whole thing. I want like the whole thing. Like it's a huge part of the human experience, and I don't think it's something that should be given up on so easily. So I've been thinking about how, like, is there a way I can help fix this? And I'm thinking about, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I'm thinking about trying to make some sort of like relationship finding thing, maybe like a website or an app or something that actually tries to do that and crowdsources, so that you don't just find someone online. And I actually made a video about this whole thing, explaining the whole thing. And I have an experiment in the video that I asked people to do to see if it works. And I haven't edited the video yet. It's one of those ones where it's kind of in a folder, and often when I do this, I just end up erasing it. But I think I have to post it because it's like, yeah, it's way outside my comfort zone and it feels weird, but I think it's important enough that I kind of have to do it and just get over myself, and because something really useful might come out of it. Anyway, I feel like there's got to be a way to make like a thing on the internet. Like the internet is an amazing thing with so much potential to bring people together. And everyone knows all this social media stuff and all this crap. It makes all these terrible, superficial connections, and people are not connected at all. People are less connected now than they've ever been. Like people see so much of each other, but don't really see anything of each other. You know what I mean? Like we see a lot of superficial nonsense, but we're not really connecting with each other. Anyway, I feel like there's got to be a way to design something, just using problem-solving skills, to design like a sort of like a dating website or something like that. But it's not a dating thing. It's a relationship finder, to find a real person that uses crowdsourcing. So it encourages people to actually make introductions. So you could actually make introductions with someone who's not on the site. So like for people like me, who are not online very often, like I would like to meet someone who's also not online very often. And a lot of the people I've talked to about this are in the exact same situation. It's like, there's people don't meet in real life, and the internet is so geared toward these extroverts who are always online. And that's because when you go online, the people you run into are all the people who are always online because they're always there, right? So if there was a thing that encouraged people to introduce people to others offline, then it would be much more reasonable to maybe meet another person who also doesn't spend all their time online, right? So I have a programmer friend who I'm going to bug more about this. I've mentioned it to him a little bit, but I'm going to bug him about it. But I have to do some experimentation to see if just the basic concept even works. So I think I'll have to upload that video, and I'm going to get a lot of grief about it. I'm sure I'm going to get so much grief about it, but I don't really care. All right, another architecture question. Oh, Terminator is here. Dig a tunnel. Another architecture question. Please riff on the beam shape you used in your new house. You mean this thing right here? Let's aim a little bit this way. I'm starting to lose light here. I lit a candle just to get a bit of light. I didn't feel like, pulling a light out and putting it here or anything. Okay, so this is the beam I presume you're talking about. And, this window thing and under here, none of this is supporting. It's supported by a post back here and then the wall over there. And it's basically just a crappy arch. Ideally this would be more rounded and arched the whole way across, like a catenary, which is similar to a parabola. But I didn't think it was that important to do, so I just kind of I call them scorches because I kind of squared off the arch shape, and it's good enough. And the reason it's good enough is because there's not going to be any weight on the middle. There's only going to be weight on the end here, and then on the end, like right next to the wall. That's where the wood is going to sit for the second floor. The joists will be supported at each end, but nothing will be in the middle. Although they are strong enough, I can stand in the middle and it supports me no problem. I've stood on them a lot. I've even got boards on the third floor up there. I've got a pretty heavy thing, like set of stuff, like right across the middle, and I can stand on it, and it's never had any problems. However, I wouldn't trust a lot of weight for a lot of time in the middle, so I'm only supporting the floor by the end. So it should be fine. Oh, what about getting an AI wife robot? Might be great. I know that defeats the point. That's not the experience. That's not the human experience. The human experience is to connect with another human on like a really human level, and that's what it's annoying the shit out of me that this is something that people are resisting so much. Like even just talking about it, it feels like I'm offending people. It's really a weird situation. Like it shouldn't be remotely offensive to talk about wanting to be in a relationship. It also shouldn't be remotely like embarrassing or anything. Like it should be, if I put this here, I can get a bit of reflectiness from my candle. A little bit more. Yeah, it shouldn't be a weird thing. There shouldn't be so much resistance to that. I was so stoked to see the canal you created to get to your house in your recent video. I was really curious about it. What a huge amount of work. It turned out incredible. Such a cool approach home. I do, yeah, my approach home is really cool. And it curves, so you can't actually see into my island from the other end of it. So it's kind of like a Batman entrance without having to have a door. Did you use that mangrove cookie cutter tool you made to make the canal? How difficult is it to cut through those roots? Oh, I don't know if I want to talk about that much because people get weird about that stuff. But I did have to, pull a bunch of roots out of there and stuff. I'm alone and totally happy. Yes, classic dude Mike, that is totally fine. And I get that too, because I've spent significant portions of my life alone and totally happy too. And I can be alone and totally happy right now. But I'm just choosing to be miserable and try to do something more. Yeah, not miserable, I'm joking. Ditto on the canal, amazing. Would love to hear more about that process. I'm also curious about building code, legal stuff down there like permits. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about that much. Your dating website could be called Match or Maker Match. Maker Match. I don't know what it would be called. But I feel like there's, like in the olden days, people would set each other up. Like, people who knew you and knew other people, they would set people up, and that doesn't really happen anymore. But I feel like there's got to be an online version of that where that can actually happen. So yeah, I mean, there's got to be a way to make it work. Although I don't know if people would do it, and if they're actually any good at it, if there are people who are good at it. So in the video that I made that I'm gonna probably upload, unless I just decide to erase it because I don't feel like dealing with it, I asked, oh, this is so embarrassing. I asked people if they would try to set me up with someone that they know, if they know of anyone who they think would be a match for me. And then, I gave a list of embarrassing things about myself and what I'm looking for and blah, blah, blah. It's always, why is it so embarrassing to talk about that stuff? It shouldn't be, but it is. But yeah, it was just kind of an experiment to try to see if people can or will actually do that kind of thing. And if people are willing to do that kind of thing and can get interested in setting people up, and if you don't have to have too much incentive to get them to do it, that makes it, like just not worth it. Like if people can actually do it, I think it could be a really useful thing that could help a lot of people connect that wouldn't otherwise. Because I kind of see that as a big problem in our society right now, it's just the lack of human connections. And people are spending their lives alone and lonely, and I don't think they need to. And there are also a lot of people, like Mike there, and I mean, I also have this capability. I can totally be alone and be completely fine. But I feel like I'm going to be missing out on something if I just go with that. I'll be giving up on something that I think is important in the human experience. Anyway, I think it's best to put yourself in situations that let you meet a lot of people and make friends. But of course, that's easier said than done. Trying to find social gatherings that work for you is hard. Okay, but here's the problem. And I was kind of mentioning this earlier. I'm totally running out of light now. Maybe I should get a light. Let me just go get a light. I'll be right back. Okay, so if I go to social gatherings to meet people, this piece of styrofoam here, I always put it up here, because then if I put my flashlight like right there, bouncing up at it, yeah, it like illuminates the whole area down here. I guess I can put my candle out. Candle, you were not bright enough. We need like 6 of you. Anyway, if I go to social events, and there are plenty of social events. I'm right near, not near, but I mean, the closest town to me is a pretty big tourist town. There are a lot of people, a lot of social events, but I'm going to meet a specific type of person. It's the exact same problem with just going online on some, dating relationship sites. I'm going to meet all the people who are always online. I'm not going to meet the kind of person who fits with me, who's the kind of person who doesn't go to those things. And, for me to meet the kind of person that I'm looking for at some kind of big social event, I'm going to have to go outside of what I normally do and go to one of these things. And that other person is also going to have to go outside what they normally do to go there at the same time as me. And it's just statistically unlikely. So this is the problem. And it's a situation that I've been talking to a bunch of people about this with. When you go out, you keep meeting the same kind of person. And we go online, you meet the same kind of person, and it's a rare occasion to meet someone who's different. The introverts or the people with what do you call them? The high functioning weirdos. I feel comfortable calling myself a high functioning weirdo. I'm kind of a weirdo, and I think I'm pretty high functioning. But anyway, like those people are much harder to find partly because they're more rare, but also because they're just not often going to those kind of things. So you might have to go through like 150 normal people, like extroverted party people, before you run into one person who is just there to try to meet the person who's like you, you know? So it's not the kind of thing where you can just go meet a whole bunch of people, because you meet a whole bunch of people, you're probably going to meet the same kind of people. You could offer self-sufficiency classes when you can meet people who at least have a similar interest. I actually do want to do that. Not just to meet someone, but yeah, I mean, that is also a reason. I've been talking about this for a while, actually. I want to do sort of like, what do you call them? Retreats, or, like a week long adventure kind of thing. Like week-long events where a group of people would come and we can either build a kayak or maybe build a dome, or do some gardening in there and collect some of our own food, and just have a week of doing some adventure-y, buildy kind of stuff. And I think that would be a really cool thing, partly because I think it would be super fun, and it would also mean I would be meeting other cool adventure-y kind of people, possibly even meeting a few people here and there who might want to stay. That would always be kind of in the back of my mind. I wouldn't try to push that on anyone. And then, of course, yes, there's also the possibility that I could meet, some like my future partner. So that kind of stuff is useful. So yeah, I mean, I'll work on that. But then a lot of it is like people who are into that stuff. A lot of those people are just doing, like, I wouldn't go to someone else's self-sufficiency thing because I'm doing it myself. So like, maybe at some point in the past I would have. So you kind of have to have the timing right on something like that. But anyway, yeah, that greatly increases the chances of meeting the people who have similar interests. Relationships are like gambling, and the odds are with the house. Yeah, it is kind of like gambling. So I was saying earlier that I'm on one or two of these, a couple of these like dating websites, and I don't want dating. Dating is horrible. I want a relationship. But anyway, yeah, it's like gambling. Like every time I go by my computer and I'm like, well, let me just check if I have any messages that are interesting. And it's like, oh, there's something promising. Every once in a while, it's like, oh, there's something promising. But most of the time, it's like nothing. And then when it's something promising, it's like, oh, maybe this is interesting. And then it turns out the person is like, not actually that interesting. And it's like, you have to go through so many before. It's just tedious. But it is also like kind of addictive. And it's kind of annoying, actually. Like, I don't want to be doing other things and then thinking, ooh, maybe there's a message for me, because that's what ends up happening. If I'm checking it for, the first week or two, I don't even bother thinking about it. I'll just, whenever I'm on my computer, I'll check it. But then, as time goes on, every once in a while, I'm like, oh, maybe I should check. Maybe I have a message. Maybe there's something good. And yeah, it's totally like an addictive gambling thing, and it's starting to annoy me. And so like this morning, I turned my computer on, checked the weather, checked a couple things, and then I just turned everything off and turned the power off. I was like, I'm not, just turn off for the day. Because I am always much happier when I just have everything off. Also, Nicole Tesla, I think you mean Nikola Tesla, said a few things about the subject. All great men die alone. Also, he said, love is two people agreeing to be stupid together. Yeah, I totally get that. And it is agreeing to be stupid together. But it's also kind of an amazing experience. And, without people agreeing to be stupid together, there would be no human beings. Like we'd all be dead. We'd all be gone. We'd go extinct. Like, it's an important part of who and what we are. Like, none of us would be here if people in the past hadn't decided to, and I don't even think it's necessarily being stupid together. So, I mean, a lot of times it's being stupid together, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I could argue with him on that for sure, except he's dead, People do it with dates. They input the info on their phones and get reminders, totally forgetting it was something my parents done in their brains. I feel like there's a bunch of typos in there. I'm not sure. I missed something. Did you say that the arches are called scorches? I think they are rad. No, squarches, like square arches, squarches, because, you know, if they were real arches, they would be, hold on. Oh, where am I? Here I am. If they were real arches, they'd be rounded in a parabolic or catenary shape. But because I kind of squared them off, you know, I call them squarches, so square arches. It's kind of like a really half-assed way of making an arch. No sense in crying over spilt milk. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, just clean it up. An app AI can help you with that. Just join the chat. IMO AI is evolution of our creation. Are we ready? No, but it's too late to be ready. We are best to embrace it as a tool to advance our evolution. The genie is out of the bottle. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Who knows what's going to happen there? Introverted men like me tend to end up with overbearing woman. Yeah, that's true. That does happen a lot. Question, what happened to your gray catamaran you had when you bought Deshanes Island? The pontoon shapes were like racing shells rowing. The gray catamaran, that's the one I've been driving around. It's green now. I'm pretty sure that's the one you're talking about. Let's see, when I got her on, yeah. That's the one I've been driving around, the solar snailer. And now it's got pedals on it. A few years ago, I pulled it out of the water. I took the floor off the back, installed pedals, changed the solar roof. I ended up putting the motor back in where it was. But I changed the solar roof. I've actually changed the solar roof. I'm on the 3rd version right now, and I really like the version it is right now. But yeah, that is the same boat. And that's been a super awesome boat. I love that boat. Sorry, I'm 4 minutes behind playing catch up. No problem. I'm still not sure what you were talking about, Alan. But I don't know, maybe I should. Oh, I lost it. Oh, wait, no, there it is. People do it with dates. They input the info into their phones and get reminders, totally forgetting it was something my parents done in their brains. I feel like I'm totally missing some of that sentence. Oh well. Hey dude, Frederick, what's up? What's up with this late live? It's been a few weeks. I didn't make it to your live in time. Followed every one of them though, and love your new process and the fresh energy. Well, I feel like I've been kind of slacking off on my lives lately. And this morning I had a shorter one. It was just an hour, and I had been doing 2-hour ones for a while. And I didn't really have like an opening monologue, I guess, prepped this morning or the last few weeks, at least last week or the week before that. I don't think I did. Anyway, I feel like I've been slacking off on them. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to think of something to say, and I'm going to do another live tonight. That's going to be like the 2nd hour, and I'm going to actually think of something to talk about. And I think it actually helps a lot that this one is at night, because earlier today, and this happens like every week, like I kind of pause whatever I'm working on, and then I come to a live right in the middle of the day. And then part of my brain is distracted by the fact that I'm not working on whatever I want to work on. But right now, it's nighttime, it's dark outside, there's nothing else I'm going to do. So I can actually focus on what I'm doing here. So maybe I should do these at night. I don't know. There's definitely an advantage to doing these at nighttime. Oh, let's see. It's 2 a.m. here. Thanks for keeping my insomniac brain company. We'll get some sleep, man. I mean, stay up for a while. I know what that's like, though. Whenever I go to bed early, and sometimes I'll go to bed here at like 8 o'clock. Like, just because the sun goes down, and then, I'll eat dinner and stuff. And then it's like, what do I do? Sit around and watch a movie, screw around online, or maybe I'll just go to sleep. So sometimes I'll just go to sleep at like 8 o'clock. And then if I do that, I like wake up at 2. and I am like totally awake. And yeah, I just finished the sentence with and yeah, which is terribly dumb. 1 a.m. here, waiting up to go pick my mates up from the nightclub. Oh, really? Oh, that's neat. Yeah, I could go to nightclubs, but that's not the kind of people I want to meet, man. The solar snail or those pontoons are great. I want to build some pontoons like that. Well, those pontoons, there are some, there's like an error in them. When I made the mold for them, there's basically like one spot where there's kind of a sharp, there's like a sharp corner, just like toward the bottom. It's not a smooth thing, you know? And it happened because I was using flat sheets to make the mold. And I was also just kind of not taking as much time as I probably should have. Like I totally could have fixed this. Like there was a spot on each side of the mold, just because of the way I made it, where it didn't smoothly round through toward, like just one spot toward the bottom on one side and on the other side, where it was kind of like the material was kind of kinked, sort of. And yeah, it made a sharp corner, but I mean, it was a sharp corner, but it's like an obtuse corner when it was like, it only changed by a couple degrees, but it was a sharp corner there. So that, you know, if you look at it from the side, it looks smooth, but if you look down to the end, you could tell it's a sharp corner there. And when you're traveling through the water, it definitely makes a difference. Like there's a wave coming off right there. And I totally could have just spent a day putting material into that divot on each side and then sanding it and getting it really smooth. But I didn't, because I mean, a lot of it was just, I was just trying to make progress and keep progress going and keep my momentum going. And I mean, it was a reasonable decision to make at the time, but if I was doing it now, I would definitely go slower and make sure I got that thing really smoothed out. But they are pretty good. Let's see, those kind of lives, like you had this, well, those kind of lives, like the lives I'm doing, like you had this morning with all the kiddo problems interrupting your train of thought. I actually love the family feel interaction. Your kids are growing into something precious. Yeah, I really love my kids too. And the funny thing is, whenever I do a live when they're around, it's like half the time they're super chill. And it's like, you wouldn't even know they're there, except I'll point them out or something. Or like a naked kid will run by and I have to move the camera. But then every once in a while, like I'll start the live and then there will be like a fist fight. And I'm exaggerating a little bit with a fist fight. But like my two middle kids, they got in like a real fight, like right when I was starting. It was over some Lego thing, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, but then they just all got riled up, and like really, I would have to like kind of intervene and get them calmed down, and then everything could go back to normal, which maybe I should have done. I don't know. I think it's fine that they had to kind of figure it out themselves. So 5 p.m. Pacific time. You are during the late rush hour in California. Oh yeah. I wonder what will happen when AI takes so many jobs and a lot of people start to lose their homes. Will property taxes end mankind free in the US? Who knows what's going to happen? But here's the thing. Every time there's a change in our society, there are horrible people who use it to take more control. So, yeah, I mean, take that for what it is. Didn't know that about the solar snailer. From the top, they look just absolutely streamlined. The solar snailer's pontoons are pretty good. It's just if you look at the right spot, like, and you have to kind of know where it is to even notice it. But I know exactly where it is. You know, it's like when you create something yourself, you know where the errors are. And 100 people could come by and be like, oh, it's perfect. And you're just like, oh, glaring mistake. It's huge. I see it right there. And they're like, what are you talking about? So yeah, I mean, you know what that's like when you make something yourself. So I'm probably making it sound worse than it is, but to me, it's just like there is room for improvement, significant. I think the only boat that I have where I'm really like, oh, that was like so slick, is the zombie chopper, the white boat, my little fast boat. That one, man, the hull is so good. Like you look at it down the side, and it's just like, and the front is nice and pointy. Like, man, I drive that thing through the water, and it leaves like nothing, like no waves behind. Not no waves, but like very little. It's really cool. Oh, let's see. I doubt property taxes will ever end because of greed. Yeah. Well, they'll end eventually. Eventually, yeah. Sound like a picky artist type, or are you an American Cup boat designer? Yeah. Well, when people make their own stuff, yeah, I guess like it's an artist thing. Like if I make a drawing or a painting or something, I'm always like, oh, that left eye is a disaster. And then no one else will notice. People will be like, wow, that looks great, man. Really good. I'm like, take a better look. Oh, it looks great. I love this. This is really good. And I'm just like, oh, how can you not even notice this huge, look at this right here. It's like a glaring horribleness. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, but I think that's fine. I mean, it's kind of good to be a little bit overcritical of oneself. At least I think it is, because it works with my personality anyway. Because if I'm really critical of what I've done, it makes me do better next time, Oh, almost got it. You're right. You spelled "you're" wrong, but okay. Or maybe you're talking about my right. This is great. I've been talking part of my doing the because it is worth it. Wait. You're right. This is great. I've been talking part of my doing the because it is worth it. I have been feeling anxiety taking off from my projects. I like this time better. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Sorry. Yeah, maybe I should do nighttime lives. Because yeah, now, was it Bob? Yeah, Bob's not interrupting what he's working on, and I'm not interrupting what I'm working on. So maybe I'll keep doing a morning live and keep shrinking them. Maybe next week it'll only be like 40 minutes. And I'll do an evening one that's like an hour and 20 minutes. Although this one's probably going to be an hour and 20 minutes. And then I'll just keep extending the evening one and shrinking the morning one until the morning one's gone and I just have an evening one. That might be a good way to do it. So many possibilities. I don't know what you're talking about, but yes, there are so many possibilities. Wendy says that the tech layoffs here in Silicon Valley will likely affect current tech. Good time to design the future and not trust the past too much. Glad an earthquake got you on my suggested vids list. Bye. Well, thanks, Wendy. Have a good evening. Yes, evening. You're in California, I think you said. Yeah, I'm glad the earthquake didn't hurt my house. Yeah, that's going to be weird when AI is just taking care of all the programming and stuff. My friend who's a programmer was talking about bugging him. I wonder if he's watching this right now. He might be watching this right now. No, he should be asleep. Anyway, what was I just talking about? Oh yeah, he was telling me. So he's a coder. He's a programmer. That's like his job. So he's just always coding. And he was telling me that he's gotten AI to code things, like big chunks of code for him. And he said, it's great. I just tell it what to do and it makes all this code. And I'm like, I slap it in there and it's like saves so much time. It's kind of crazy that is happening. It's not AI going to make people lose their homes. It's the banks and the Great Reset going to do that. There's so many bad decisions. Do you notice sunburns happen faster in Panama than they did up in Vermont or Canada? No, actually, not at all. Sunburns happen a lot in Chile. When I was in Chile, man, you go out in the sun for like 10 minutes and it's like you've been cooked. And I was asking people there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the ozone layer is toast. Like you can't go outside in the sun. It's like what was that movie? I don't know. There are a bunch of movies like that where it's like you cannot go out in the sun. It's pretty crazy down there. Here though, I mean, no more than a Canadian summer. And the thing is, like a Canadian summer, it gets hotter than here. It gets really hot because the sun is out so long during the day, so it ends up getting really hot. Here, like being this close to the equator, the temperature just doesn't fluctuate that much. It doesn't get that hot or that cold. Like it's always pretty comfortable, which is nice. And I say that until like if you go out in the sun, it gets hot. But like I'm always comfortable in the shade. That's what I always tell people. You know, it's always comfortable in the shade with a t-shirt. Question: Aurora does not seem so euphoric the recent times. Just puberty, or is her super brain giving her some Jaimie depression? Personal question. No, Aurora is a lot like I was. Well, I guess all my kids are a lot like I was in certain ways. But Aurora, she's my 12-year-old. She's the oldest. She likes to spend a lot of time by herself working on things, either reading or making stuff. And she makes really, really cool stuff. She makes like almost all her own clothes now. And she makes all this doll stuff, like doll houses and like all these miniature, really intricate things. They're really impressive, actually. And she spends like all her time doing that. I mean, I shouldn't say all her time, but a lot of her time. And so she's just like, I don't think she's depressed at all. I think she's just very content to work on her projects, you know, like kind of like her dad. And yeah, I don't really get depressed much either. And I guess as evidence for that, I would say, you know, whenever I am feeling depressed, I can still talk about it, you know, like I can go on a public thing like YouTube and talk about it. I can be like, yeah, I'm, you know, kind of depressed, because I don't really get that run down when I get depressed. I'm kind of very mentally stable in that way. Like I'll get depressed and I can kind of analytically look at it and say, oh, you know, it appears that I'm depressed, and you know, I can kind of good at it that way. But I don't think, yeah, I don't think she's depressed at all. I think she's good. She is. But yeah, you know, she is going through puberty. She's got a lot to think about, I guess. A little bit awkward. I remember when I went through puberty, well, just that whole period where my feet grew first. So I have size 14 feet. I'm 6'1", which is kind of tall, but like I have size 14 feet, you know, 14 in the United States. I don't know what size there's other places, but it's like huge feet. And my feet grew first, like in grade 6, my feet were almost as big as they are now. And I was like 80 pounds. I was like this 80-pound little kid with these giant man feet and these long, gangly arms with huge hands on the end. Oh, I looked ridiculous. I looked like a water skiing gorilla without the muscles. I was just skinny. And I'd walk around and I'd kick things over with my giant oversized feet all the time. It was ridiculous. I was so awkward. Anyway, her awkwardness isn't from giant feet though. You know, she just has some awkward. Okay. Patrick says, for me, depression equals my brain telling me I need to change my life. Exactly. That is, yeah, totally. ADHD is my brain telling me I was never supposed to sit quietly in one place listening to somebody for 8 hours a day. Yeah, totally. Everything you just said there, I totally agree with. Yeah, whenever I get depressed, And I got pretty down recently. There was a serious situation I had to deal with recently. Um, and it's like 50% of me was depressed, but then the other half of me was like, oh, but now something's going to change, and nobody is going to stop this change. Like, I am changing something, and I changed things, and things are much better now than they were before I got to the point where I was depressed enough to force a change. So yeah, it's like depression is always kind of a two-sided thing. There's like, the depressing side, but then there's the side that's like, okay, I've been pushed to the point where I absolutely must change it. And yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, depression is cool, man. I love it. I like totally love it, dude. Well, not exactly. Agree about depression definition. Yeah. Oh, am I missing something? All right. I think I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to. Ooh, maybe I'll upload that video real quick. If I made a video about what I was talking about earlier about relationships and that kind of stuff. Do you feel like it's something I should upload, or should I just erase it and just move on? Oh, depression is a mechanism to prevent suicide. I've read somewhere. Yeah, I could see that. Although depression can also kind of make you commit suicide. I don't know. I feel like depression is the thing that forces you to. But when depression gets bad enough, it's the thing that forces you to fix things. And the worst position you can be in is when you're kind of depressed and it's sort of horrible, but not enough to take the drastic measures you need to change it. And that's the worst position to be in, when it's like kind of crappy and it's like verging on the point of just absolutely going crazy, but not quite there. Because often if it gets worse, it pushes you over this line that forces you to fix it. And that puts you in a much better position. So kind of like halfway depressed. That is the worst position to be in. Okay. Let's see. Upload what interests you. I'll watch objectively. Oh, great. Yeah. Do you think so? Question, do you think so? What is that question? Do you think so? Do I think what so? Have a good night, dude. Upload your video. That are all good. All right. So good. See you a second time today. Thanks. We need to see that blue boat. Oh yeah, I've got that video too. I need to edit it and put it together. I didn't get a lot of sun today though. Tomorrow's supposed to be sunny, so I should have plenty of electricity to, edit videos and upload them and everything. I finally made it to a live and I'm just about to leave. Sorry, man. Upload the relationship video, then delete it after 3 weeks. Aha! There's a good idea. Maybe. Anyway, it's a kind of thing where I think it's probably going to be kind of embarrassing, but I also think it's important enough that, at one point in the future, I may have this really cool result from it. And I'll look back and think, ooh, this all started from that horribly embarrassing thing where I didn't know what I was doing, but I just kind of threw something out there and made a terrible start and then actually got something. So anyway, all right, I'm going to get out of here. Sunny mañana. Oh, you know what I always say? I always say hasta bananas or hasta manzanas, even though it's, hasta mañana, because hasta mañana means see you tomorrow. And hasta bananas just means see you bananas. And hasta manzanas means see you apples. The kids around here love it. Okay. Do you think some of your vids might be having a hard time? Wait, do you think, some of your kids might be having a hard time with something going on? Aurora's fashion design is awesome. That is true, Basil. Oh, I love her fashion stuff. She made a really cool shirt yesterday. I really liked it. Anyway, do I think my kids are having a difficult time with some of this stuff going on? Yes. And, I'm doing my best to make it better. And that's actually one of the reasons that I want to have a relationship. I want to have a good relationship with a woman. Not because I want to replace Deshana as the mother for my children. My kids don't need a mother. They have a mother. But I want my kids to see what it's like for two people to be in a loving relationship. I think that would be a really valuable thing for them to see on a daily basis. And that's one of the motivations I have for wanting to be in a relationship. Otherwise, I mean, I obviously just want that for myself too. But yeah, I mean, I think overall my kids have a pretty good childhood though. Like, you know, in life you can never expect everything to go you can never expect everything to go perfectly. They have a way better childhood than I did when I was a kid, so I feel like it's going in the right direction, you know. And yeah, there's some problems, but I think overall it's going all right. And Deshana and I have resolved. I don't want to get into the details of it because like right now everything is fine, and we came to an agreement, and we've come to an agreement, and it is working, and everything is much better than it's much better than it's been for years actually. So I think as long as everything keeps going the way it is, I think everything will be good for the kids. But even besides that, I mean, they have a pretty awesome childhood overall. Current owner of the Dome House in Vermont still hasn't wrote me back about buying the property. Oh, yeah, I don't know how to get in touch with that person other than they're on Facebook, right? I'm pretty sure they're on Facebook, and I don't remember their name. Yeah, I can't remember their name now. Later, it's been almost a month. Oh, since you sent the message? I don't know what's going on there. It is hard when parents move on. Yeah, I don't know. Hasta bananas, Jaimie. Smash the button, people. Smash the like button, people. Don't smash it, man. Oh, Neil Orman. That's who owns it according to tax records. Yeah. So Neil Orman is who I sold the Vermont property to like 10 years ago. As far as I know, same owner still. I don't know. I haven't kept up with it since then at all. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. Oh, I'm gonna stay here actually, but I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get out of there, and I'm gonna go here into real life and do some stuff. And everybody, have an amazing evening. And I think I actually kind of like these nighttime lives more because I can actually focus on what I'm talking about instead of thinking about all of the things I could be doing with my daylight. Okay. Nepsi, yeah, have a good night. Okay, I'm going to turn this off.